1. Freud psychoanalytic theories. It is based on the belief that human behavior is largely determined by unconscious processes and childhood experiences. Freud's theory is divided into three parts: the id, ego, and superego. The id is the primitive, instinctual part of personality, which seeks immediate gratification of basic needs and desires. Ego is the rational part, which tries to balance the needs with the demands of the external world. Superego is the moral part of personality, which internalizes the values and standards of society. According to Freud, conflicts between these three parts of personality can lead to psychological distress and mental disorders. One of the most important concepts in Freud's theory is the idea of repression, which refers to the process by which unacceptable thoughts or feelings are pushed into the unconscious mind. Several psychosexual stages: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages, which are developmental periods during which a child's sexual energy is focused on different parts of the body. Freud believed that conflicts or fixations at any of these stages could have a lasting impact on an individual's personality. Psychoanalytic theory was largely developed through his case studies, famous case of N.O. These studies detailed examinations of patients' childhood experiences, dreams, and unconscious thoughts. Dream analysis. Freud believed that dreams were a reflection of unconscious desires and conflicts. He developed a technique called dream analysis to help uncover these hidden meanings in dreams. Oedipus complex. Freud proposed that during the phallic stage of development, children develop unconscious sexual desires for their opposite-sex parent and view their same-sex parent as a rival. Defense mechanisms, repression, denial, projection, and sublimation, etc. Freud believed that people use defense mechanisms to protect themselves from anxiety and distress. 2. Alfred Adler. The concept of individual psychology. He believed that an individual's lifestyle, or way of living, plays a crucial role in shaping personality. He identified three basic types of lifestyles. The ruling type seeks to dominate and control, the getting type to acquire material possessions, and the avoiding seeks to avoid problems and challenges. Striving for significance, an innate desire. Adler believed that people have for personal excellence and superiority. A student who works hard to success and strives to be at the top of their class. Birth order. Adler believed that birth order plays a role in shaping personality. A first child may be more responsible and achievement-oriented, a later child may be more rebellious and creative. Inferiority complex. Adler believed that individuals who experience feelings of inferiority may develop an inferiority complex, which can lead to a sense of helplessness and a lack of confidence. An example of this might be a person who feels inadequate or inferior in social situations and avoids socializing as a result. Social interest. Adler believed that social interest, or a concern for the well-being of others, is a fundamental aspect of human nature. A person might volunteers or donates money to charity. 3. Carl Jung. The concept of analytical psychology. He believed that the human psyche is composed of three parts: the conscious mind, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. Collective unconscious contains archetypes, or universal symbolic images and patterns, which he believed are inherited and shared by all human beings. Mother figure, which image of nurturing and care. Individuation. Jung believed that individuation is the process of becoming a unique and integrated individual. Example: a person who has overcome their fears via self-reflection and personal growth. Psychological types. Jung identified two primary psychological functions, thinking and feeling, and two primary ways of perceiving information, sensation and intuition. An example of a thinking type might be a scientist who values rationality and logic. An example of a feeling type might be an artist who values emotions and subjective experience. Shadow. Jung believed that the shadow is the dark and repressed aspects of the psyche. He believed that confronting and integrating the shadow is a crucial aspect of individuation. An example of the shadow might be a person who is angry and aggressive but tries to suppress these feelings, leading to inner turmoil. Dreams. Jung believed that dreams can provide insight into the unconscious mind and help individuals in the process of individuation. An example of a dream might be a person dreaming about a snake, which can symbolize the transformation and shedding of old ways of thinking. 4. Melanie Klein Object Relations Theory. Early childhood experiences play a critical role in shaping personality, and relationship with their primary caregiver is crucial in this process. Here, the importance of the internalized representations of the self and others, or objects, that are developed in childhood. These internalized representations can be positive or negative and can influence the way an individual perceives and interacts with others throughout their life. Klein also developed the concept of the good breast and the bad breast to illustrate how the child's early experiences with the mother's breast can shape their internalized representations. Splitting, which is the tendency to separate experiences and people into either all good or all bad. Splitting is a normal, early development but can become problematic when it persists into adulthood. Projective identification, which involves projecting one's own thoughts and feelings onto another person and then identifying with that projection. An example of projective identification might be a person who feels angry and then assumes that others are angry with them, leading to conflict and misunderstanding in relationships. 5. Horney. Personality is shaped by social and cultural factors. Neuroses and other psychological problems are the result of maladaptive coping strategies developed in response to social pressures. This psychoanalytic social theory focused on three main aspects of personality: the real self, the ideal self, and the tyranny of the shoals. The real self represents an individual's true feelings and desires, while the ideal self represents the version of oneself that one aspires to be. The tyranny of the shoals refers to the internalized beliefs and values that individuals feel they should live up to, even if they conflict with their true desires, and leads to depressed self. As per Horney, neuroses and other psychological problems are the result of three main coping strategies: moving toward others, moving against others, and moving away from others. Moving toward others involves seeking approval and validation from others, while moving against others involves becoming aggressive and dominant in an attempt to control others. Moving away from others involves withdrawing from relationships and becoming isolated. 6. Erich Fromm's humanistic psychoanalysis. Human beings have an innate need for connection with others and a sense of purpose and meaning in life, and these needs are central to understanding behavior. The fear of freedom. An example of the fear of freedom might be a person who feels anxious and overwhelmed by the prospect of making their own choices and taking responsibility for their own life. This can lead them to conform to societal norms and expectations, rather than embracing their true selves and pursuing their own unique paths in life. The need for connection. An example might be a person who feels a sense of loneliness and isolation, and seeks out meaningful connections with others in order to feel more fulfilled and satisfied. Motherly/fatherly love. An example might be a parent who provides care, protection, and guidance to their child, helping them to develop a sense of security and trust in the world. Erotic love. An example of erotic love might be a person who desires closeness and connection with another person, seeking out intimate relationships as a way of fulfilling this need. The search for meaning. An example might be a person who feels dissatisfied with their life and seeks out new experiences, relationships, or pursuits in order to find a sense of purpose and direction. 7. Harry stacks Sullivan interpersonal theory. He believed that personality is shaped by social interactions and that understanding these interactions is essential to understanding human behavior. Sullivan's interpersonal theory focuses on the ways in which individuals relate to others, particularly in their efforts to meet their needs for security, recognition, and intimacy. Individuals develop a sense of self through their interactions with others, and that this sense of self is constantly evolving and changing as people engage in new relationships and experiences. Security operations. An example might be a person who seeks out relationships with others in order to feel a sense of safety and security, relying heavily on a romantic partner for reassurance and support. Personifications. An example of personifications might be a person who creates idealized versions of themselves and others in their mind, which they use to guide their interactions with others. This might involve projecting their own fears and insecurities onto others, or seeing themselves as superior or inferior to others in certain ways. The self system. An example of the self system might be a person who has a strong sense of self and a clear understanding of their own needs and desires. This might involve setting boundaries in relationships, pursuing personal goals and interests, and expressing their emotions and opinions in a healthy and assertive way. The developmental stages. An example might be a child who is in the infancy stage, where they are completely dependent on their caregiver for their basic needs. As they progress through the stages, they begin to develop a sense of self and a greater awareness of their own needs and desires. Paradoxic distortion. An example of paradoxic distortion might be a person who assumes that others are judging or criticizing them based on their own insecurities and fears. This can lead to misunderstandings and conflict in relationships, as the person may become defensive or withdraw from others in an attempt to protect themselves.